Ask yourself, America, are you better off than you were 2 years ago? The President of the United States constantly embarrasses himself, defies gravity by being able to fall upstairs and doesn't know which way to leave a speech, let alone actually understand any of the words that he's reading. And then there's, of course, the Vice President, Kamala Harris. Well, when it comes to Joe Biden, the President, he thought that a dead woman was in the crowd the other day.
And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie. Are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
Meantime, Kamala Harris doesn't know the difference between North and South Korea and which one's the good guy.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. And it is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
Adam Crichton is the Washington correspondent for The Australian. Dear God, these people. Honestly. Now,
indeed.
No wonder why, let alone the economy, no wonder, the Republicans are a threat to democracy and, and apparently racists and all the rest of it, right? Because these people are just flat out incompetent. They literally cannot put one foot in front of the other. Now, again, have we all misspoke? You betcha. But we're all not the Vice President of the United States in South Korea.
No, certainly it does feel like a competition, Paul, every week as to whether it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, who's had the biggest gaffe this week. It is a serious issue. It's certainly a pattern. But I must say what the Democratic Party does have in its advantage is that the US media largely ignores all of these gaffes. I was so struck by the North Korea gaffe that basically not a single article in the mainstream press in the US about that gaffe. Of course, it was covered by, I think, briefly the New York Post, but that was pretty much it. Not the Washington Post, not the New York Times. It did not happen. Now, just imagine if Donald Trump or Mike Pence had said that just for 1 second. It would have been weeks, months of articles. So there's extraordinary bias here in the US media, which means that Americans don't, at least many of them, don't even know that these gaffes have happened.
Well, and this is what is the double down. This is the problem here, right? Which is the people who claim, democracy dies in darkness and freedom is best done by journalism and all of this stuff, right? They don't treat them the same way. They scandalised every breath of the former president and they hide every mistake of this one, which just doubles down everyone where they were. But also it's this scenario where, you ask any American, you have a look at every opinion poll, inflation, interest rates, all the different issues that means their life is worse than where it was 2 years ago. But then they try to change the subject and carry on and devil horn about election integrity and they talk about anything but what they're responsible for as a reason to vote for them.
Mm. No, that's true. And you're very right to point out living standards here have fallen probably at the fastest rate since the 1970s. We've still got 8% plus inflation for, I think, the fourth or fifth month in a row, which is extraordinary historically. And wage growth's about 3 or 4%. So certainly people are going backwards. There's every reason not to vote for the Democrats. But it must be said, thanks largely to the media, I would say, Democrats' fortunes have been improving steadily over the summer period up here. And it's now neck and neck, as you know, in the Senate. It's not clear whether Republicans will take it back. So I think people are going to wait until that poll on the 8th of November to kind of reform their views as to who should be running in 2024.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Bill Maher, lefty talk show host in the United States, old school liberal, right? In the same way that, George Bush was sort of old school Republican, where the parties have moved far away from where they were at one point, the mainstream of their parties. He says that Harris should go in 24 because she's just a bad politician. Well, anyone could have told you that when she was the senator who was terrible, when she was, of course, running for president and didn't even get to Iowa because she had such little support, and then, of course, was so, terrible on the campaign trail. But they all voted for her anyway. I bet Bill Maher voted for her to be senator. I bet Bill Maher voted for her to be vice president.
Well, yes. Yeah. Well, she was the diversity choice. She was a woman of colour, so to speak, and so she ticked all the boxes for the vice presidential chair. There were plenty of other options. I mean, for instance, Senator Amy Klobuchar, I thought she would have done a much better job. She was certainly my preferred candidate if I had to vote in that race. But no, she's obviously, she wasn't a woman of colour, so she's out. And now the Democrats are living with the consequences of not choosing the actual best person for the job.
Yeah, I'm with you. Adam, thank you very much. We'll read your stuff, as always, in the Australian newspaper.